Ariel, meanwhile, has expressed his desire to interact more with the followers of this channel. He has therefore agreed to answer questions you asked him. So that's your chance to ask questions. If you have any questions to Ariel, feel free to ask them below in the comment section. We will collect the questions and provide them to Ariel. He then will answer as many as possible, and I will then present the answers in this channel again. And there is one more update. The court hearing I talked about will probably be postponed to May or June this year. This is good in that way that we have a little more time to organize a good defense for Ronald. Hello, my name is Dr. Konstantin Schimmert, and this is my conversation with Ronald Sanford, aka Ariel. A man who was involved in a crime when he was a 13-year-old child and then has been sentenced for 170 years. This is now 35 years ago. Today, I have a wonderful new story to tell you about Ariel. Maybe you remember that Ariel made hints about his significant other in his letters. Now, his partner Ellie has contacted me. I asked her to write me a few lines about how she and Ariel came together and how they live their partnership in these very difficult circumstances. She kindly wrote me a beautiful little text and allowed me to read it here in this channel, after consultation with Ariel as well. So here comes Ellie's story. In 2017, I was watching some video clips online and somehow stumbled across the first documentary Sir Trevor McDonald made about Indiana State Prison, which featured the expose about Ariel. As many other people have been, I was immediately struck by his story, his intelligence and his positive outlook on life. But more than that, as soon as I saw him, I was hit by a feeling of familiarity. I had never experienced a feeling like that before. I felt like I already knew and understood him somehow, which I know sounds bizarre. It took me aback, but I didn't question it or try and understand it. Rather, I knew immediately I had to try and make contact with him. So I found out his contact details and I wrote to him, just telling him a little bit about myself and included a photograph. 5 weeks passed and I hadn't heard from him. I was disappointed, but I assumed he received correspondence from a lot of people and may not wish to reply. Then, eventually, I received a reply. The prison had been on 5-week lockdown, so he'd been unable to respond. This was the time when the second follow-up documentary was filmed. When I got the reply, I was elated. We exchanged lengthy emails back and forth, as well as snail mail and photos. And at that point, I made him a promise that as long as he wanted me in his life, I would be there for him and support him in any way I could. It was very evident that he was somewhat guarded initially because many people write to him only to then disappear again out of his life without warning. So he couldn't be sure that I wouldn't do the same thing. We began emailing each other most days, and as the weeks and months went by, it became clear that we had lots of shared interests. The emails became longer and more frequent and were backed up by occasional videograms that we could send each other. At that time, he had to use email kiosk to reply to me, and there was a 20-minute time limit on the machine. So he would switch from one machine to the next so he could send lengthier messages each day before his time ran out. Eventually, he asked if we could speak on the phone, which we did. The first call is as clear in my memory today as it was 5 years ago. We got on so well, and he said he'd like to speak more often. I arranged a local rate number, as I'm outside the US, and we began speaking every day on the phone. But we were only able to speak at set times, when he was out of the cell for recreation or his meals. These phone calls strengthened our bond even further and became a regular event each day. It was a gradual process of him getting to know and trust me. So he felt comfortable to open up his world to me. I realized he had fully let me in when he told his mom about me. His mom immediately welcomed me with open arms, which I'm very thankful for. Ariel and I speak on the phone for 60 to 90 minutes every day. The inmates now have their own tablets from which they can email and make calls, which makes life much easier for us because he can call me anytime from his cell. It also means that we can keep communication going even if the prison go on lockdown for any length of time, unless the prison cut the connection off. As with all technology, sometimes it can be problematic, but for the most part, it works well for us. It never ceases to amaze me how two people from completely different worlds with such different life experiences could share such a special and deep connection with each other. We just get each other. It's effortless and it just works. Obviously, there are elements to our relationship that are unconventional, and I appreciate not everyone will understand or approve of our situation. But in a very conventional way, we go through our daily lives together, sharing the good and the bad times with each other. We laugh a lot, we cry rarely, we sing, we talk about current affairs, discuss our day's events, read books together, offload our worries, give each other moral support, etc. The time we spend together each day is quality time that we both treasure. He sometimes tells me that I've changed his life, but I always make sure he knows he's changed mine just as much. I feel so blessed that he gave me a chance to get to know him in the first place. Obviously, I'm biased in my opinion of him, but he really is a very special person with so much love in his heart. He treats me with the utmost respect, loyalty and care. He's thoughtful and kind-hearted. I couldn't have asked for more from him in terms of his behavior towards me. I'm so proud of the man he is, despite all the restrictions, stress, and difficulties he faces. Despite the negative environment he has lived in for more than 30 years. He has chosen a positive path of self-development, spiritually and intellectually. It goes without saying that there are, of course, challenging elements in our relationship. The feeling of helplessness, you can't do more for someone you care about, can be very difficult at times. But for the challenges it may bring, there are unique lessons being learned too. The circumstances we find ourselves in have taught me a great deal over the years. Not least patience and how to handle uncertainty. I'm usually someone who likes to have answers and likes to know what is happening next. But I have learned that some things are out of our control. And you just have to learn to adapt to whatever happens. It requires resilience and the ability to take each day as it comes, appreciating every moment as it happens, never taking each other for granted. This mindfulness then, in turn, creates the opportunity for a great deal of reflection and introspection. Our situation also requires the ability to communicate effectively and openly at all times, finding innovative ways of creating new experiences together and showing the other person how much we care, without the fancy frills that are available for most people. But ultimately, this situation shows that no matter the circumstances of difficulties, love is the core of who we are as human beings and is what life is all about. I repeat that. Love is the core of who we are as human beings and is what life is all about. Of course, the future is somewhat uncertain, but that's the case for all of us. So we remain positive, continuing on our journey with the faith that things will work out as we hope in the end. Until that time, we try and make the most of every day. I'd just like to thank everyone who's supporting Ariel through this channel and anyone who has reached out to him personally. It means a lot to him and his loved ones. Let's hope it won't be long before he gets the second chance he so deserves. So, these are the lines from Ellie. It's very, very touching. It's very wise words. It's full of love. It's full of respect. And it's human. It's about humanity. So there is so much wisdom in Ellie's words, and now Ariel meanwhile has expressed his desire to interact more with the followers of this channel. He has therefore agreed to answer questions you asked him. So that's your chance to ask questions. If you have any questions to Ariel, feel free to ask them below in the comment section. We will collect the questions and provide them to Ariel. He then will answer as many as possible, and I will then present the answers in this channel again. And there is one more update. The court hearing I talked about will probably be postponed to May or June this year. This is good in that way that we have a little more time to organize a good defense for Ronald. So the GoFundMe account has already received $2,700. This is great and gives courage. Let's not let up. Share these messages so we can find even more supporters for Ronald Sanford, aka Ariel. And don't forget to ask your questions to Ariel in the comment section below. Thank you very much for listening. Bye bye and take care.